Captain, enemy ships decloaking off of port bow.
They're charging weapons!
Shields up! Red alert!
They're firing!
Containment failure detected. Warp core breach imminent.
Welcome to Warp Core Breach, episode 15. On this episode, Nick and David talk about memories. Griffin threads the eye of the needle. Natasha takes a look at Voyager and transphasic torpedoes. Nick's Intermix goes to a world of no defense. Steven sheds some light on new OP ordering rules. And finally, we all reminisce about the things we know now that we wish we knew when we started out.
Warning. Warp core breach detected.
I'm David Montgomery, and here's my co-host, the Wesley to my traveler,
Nick Norris. Where's my mother? Bring her back!
Now, Wesley, be happy you got a card in this game.
Yes, I finally got a card. I exist, therefore I am. Time for some Sherlock Holmes on the holodeck?
Now, would you say that you get the point?
Ooh, fork it to me.
As long as no one's telling you to shut up, right?
Hey, you're not my father.
I feel like I need to insert a Darth Vader.
Search your feelings, you know it to be true. No! I guess Jean-Luc and Beverly did have a little bit of a fling before Jack disappeared. I think we need to reopen that case. Dahmer, Luxley, we got something for you.
That would be highly interesting if Jean-Luc was actually Wesley's father.
I could believe it.
I could too, and it would give great credence to why Jean-Luc does not like children. But folks, we're going to leave the genealogy to other folks, much older kin.
Frère Jean-Luc.
I rewatched that episode, it still holds up, I enjoy it.
Me too.
That's a good one.
And the little kid's toy that looks much like a tribble that ends up stuck to his uniform.
Yeah. So, if you don't know what we're talking about in terms of Wesley getting a card in this game, we are talking about the USS Hathaway. Wesley does have a crew card, and it's potentially playable. Maybe not right now, but once fleet captains retire, it might actually be a thing.
It has a lot of potential. It plays off similar things to Captain Kirk and Shinzon, but more into the realm of technology, of tech.
Yeah, which is very fluffy, very thematic. And I enjoy stuff like that. So I think that they did a good job with it. Maybe a tad overpriced, but with the flexibility he provides, I can see it being a legitimate option.
And that's kind of like a recurring theme with this expansion pack, is some things seem a bit high price for what you get, but virtually everything in this pack is worthy. You can find a home for pretty much everything in it. And this, of course, is the ship that was from the Peak Performance episode. We've already got our Sirna Kolrami, so this is just a little bit extra fleshing out.
Yeah, and Captain Riker, the only bad thing I have to say about him is it had to be Riker.
Ah, Captain Neckbeard.
Yeah, and you know, it's all good stuff. At least we've got a usable version of Geordi now, and But I think we're going to save the full review of this ship for probably 2 weeks from now, and we'll do a full review of Wave 20 as our main topic.
Sounds like a good plan. Shall we warp jump on to the next topic?
Yes. So, actual Star Trek Attack Wing stuff for me has been a little sparse. I've been recording videos for the shipyard like a madman, but editing is a long and drawn-out process.
A long and arduous process? Devil's advocate.
Yes. But good stuff. I've got 6 videos in the queue now, and that's
nice.
That's good. I've got the last of the reinforcement booster quarterfinal videos queued up. That should actually be posted by the time this goes to air. That is the Lakota versus the Saleya. And interesting things happened there. So Natasha and I have not filmed our semifinals or finals yet. but we're getting there. We need to find the time to do that. But yeah, it's got good stuff going on. I finally got my IRW Vrax model that had been back ordered from my store, so
Oh, excellent.
I was happy to get that, and got my Quark's Treasure and Bioship Beta in, and good stuff. My collection is now back to its complete stage, and I'm still only missing the one ship that I refuse to buy for myself, and that is the big Borg cube.
For me, I'm actually down the Talvath and the Oglarazek. I bit the bullet, and I did pick up the Rotaran, and I'm definitely glad that I did, but I'm still trying to convince myself that the Talvath would be worth picking up, and I'm having a hard time doing that. So if anyone out there can convince me, more power to you. My ears are open.
I'll figure something out. Give me like 3 months. I want to see what they do with their next Romulan release. That's the only thing I can tell you, is maybe there's something coming in the future that helps.
Mm-hmm. Well, for me in the Star Trek Attack Wing universe, I have a few exciting things to talk about. The first of which, okay, I'm probably going to butcher your name here, but Chai Kumwa? Or Mua? I'm not sure, but right on, man. Thank you very much. I posted a message to the boards on Facebook a while back about the USS Typhon. It's a carrier ship. It was featured in the online games, and it was essentially a fighter carrier for the Valkyries. And I'd asked, hey, is there any 3D models out there? Because this is one I really would have liked to produce to play for fun in Star Trek Attack Wing. And after some time had passed, he piped up and offered to do the 3D modeling, produce it, print it, and ship it to me. And, he took care of me, took care of him, and I've now got a finished, assembled, and painted model. He sent me the pieces, put it together this weekend, glued it together, painted it up, and I am extremely happy with this. So, you got your ships last week. I got my Phoenix sensor pod the week before. This is just, it's so exciting. I'm so happy. I can't wait to bring it out tomorrow. And that leads me into the next thing is lately, my local group has expanded by as many as 5 new players, and tomorrow we're going to expand their knowledge and experience to playing 2 ships at a time, get things going, and I can't be any more thrilled about this. It's like more bodies, new blood, new creativity. It's about time.
Well, that's awesome. I am always in favor of more people getting into this game, and you sound like you're doing things the right way. Start them off with 1 ship at a time so they can focus on just a little bit of stuff and making sure that things work. And then now they've got their main guy and a support ship, and they can go from there. And that's always a nice combo.
Yeah, start with the fundamentals, get a good understanding of that, and then expand and grow.
That's a good thing. It reminds me of how the Wandering Inn started their campaign. Just real slow and steady, and you're acting almost as a captain with your own ship, and it really immerses you into the flavor of Star Trek.
Mm-hmm.
And the more invested you can be into taking some personal responsibility for what's going on the tabletop and not just treating your fleet cavalierly, I think that creates a better experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
We always have to remember that this is a game, and losses are going to happen and wins are going to happen, and it's not always about winning and losing, but this is Star Trek at heart, and you want to do well, and I think if you remember that there's a theme there, that's going to help your enjoyment of the game.
Yeah, that's one thing that's really important with a game like Star Trek Attack Wing is you can get bogged down in just the repetitive things of like the jousting and just going for the uber builds and everything, but you got to keep getting back to the roots of the game. What we've talked about numerous times before, why do we keep playing the game? What do we love about it? So when you're playing, especially when you're playing against new players, get them excited, keep things in theme. Bring some of the wonder and the excitement of the show and the movies into the game itself. Flavor it up for them. If you've got it within you, if you're a bit of a storyteller, turn it into an episode. If you're playing an OP and you're the TO, you've already got the assignment of the episode that it's based on, so you can play it up. You can introduce the beginning of your tournament with a little bit of storytelling, even if it's just reading off of the sheet itself. But give it some flair, spice it up, and get your players excited, because the more excited they are, the more they're going to want to play, and the better your gaming experience is going to be.
Yeah, I mean, put on some Star Trek music, some soundtracks on in the background during your OPs. That'll just set the mood.
And there's plenty out there on YouTube if you want to just call that up while you're playing.
No, your venue may not be conducive to that, but more often than not they are. So, make it work with what happens. Anything you can do just helps set the mood and gets people involved, keeps people having fun, and that's just a good thing.
Your entertainment will adapt to service the meta.
Nick, you always keep me laughing. That's a good thing. So speaking of music at OPs, it got me thinking about memories I've had during playing the game. And that's what we wanted to talk about today. Our question of the week has to do with things we know now and reflecting back. So we wanted to take a moment and be reflective. And we kind of do interesting things on our 5s and 10s for episode count. So when it comes to memories, just some favorite memories that I've had playing the game. Anytime you get playing a game like this, it really comes down to the people, at least for me. And I've met so many wonderful people playing Star Trek Attack Wing, both locally and on the forums. Like, there are people that I've conversed with through the forums, and I'll probably never get to meet half of them in person. Probably more than half of them. But, that speaks to something, that we're all
connected.
Yeah, we're all connected.
It's almost like a grand Star Trek collective. Or cooperative.
There we go. Cooperative sounds a little less Borgy. And it goes back to the first time I played this game, and I had no idea what I was doing. I was trying to maneuver a Galaxy class like it was a little fighter ship, and being hopeless flying through the self-replicating mines around Deep Space Nine and Dominion OP1. It's the last match of Dominion OP6, fighting for the championship, forgetting about time because of an agreement and just saying this is to the death. And then pulling it out at the end and lifting up Deep Space Nine in victory and going, yes! But shaking at the end, like hands visibly shaking because of the nerves that were happening, and just going like, because I cared. I and at the end, just being able to shake hands with my opponent and say that was one heck of a fight, and thank you for the game, because he was as invested as I was. The winner won the overall prize.
Nice.
It wasn't just winner won the OP, it was winner won the tournament series. So there was a lot on the line in that battle.
No kidding.
And it was just great stuff. It was getting new people in for all these tournaments. It was getting Natasha to play this game. I've had so many different things that have happened in this game, and it's great. It's playing different missions with friends that wouldn't otherwise play the game. And they're invested, and they're like, oh wait, you can tell stories with this game? You can recreate that episode? Oh, I love that episode of Star Trek. Wait, you mean there's a game? You mean there's more missions? I want to play this now. And they're not the players that show up at OPs, but they're the ones that are like, hey, so when are you coming over to play Star Trek Attack Wing again?
Exactly.
And those are the memories. Those are the moments that make this game worth it. And those are the times that make all the drama in life, in the forums, in everything else that goes on, worth it. And I put that aside, and I have more fun when I'm able to play this game and set everything else aside. and just sit down and play Star Trek.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's pretty much the number one for me is the people. It's like, if it was just me, I would be just appreciating the ships, looking at them on a shelf, maybe occasionally, picking one up and fiddling around with it for a little while, but being able to share the love of not only Star Trek, but the game and the interaction with someone else who can get excited about it. We can feed off each other's positive energy and just keep one-upping in a good way, where we just keep feeding ourselves further and further. Like, there's no other way to get supreme joy out of a game than to share it with somebody. Solitaire just doesn't quite cut it.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, and for this game, like, I think I've mentioned it on the show before, where when I first started out, it was just me, and I just occasionally convinced the odd friend, hey, just try this out. But there was never really a community for the game that I was aware of. And it wasn't until that community had died out that I had come to the conclusion that, yeah, I just got to start one myself and just see what we can get going. And picked up some momentum, got the support of a store, a couple people showed up. Jason Van Frieser moved from the States to Vancouver, so we got an existing player to help beef that up, and it's been snowballing. It had a bit of slow period in the middle, but it's like I said earlier in the show here, we got 5 new players, and just being able to reintroduce, I find I'm learning even more by having to go over the basics with new players, things that I either overlooked or took for granted or just didn't see the perspective on. That's the other thing that the deepening the pool of players can do, is the perspective on the game. It's like, with me, I'm a big guy on combinations, combo cards, the shenanigans, stuff like that, and I am going to be limited in my perspective on the way I can see certain things interacting. But add someone like my buddy Jason or Steven or some of the other great players that have come through, they keep giving me new ideas, new perspectives, and it's opening the world. It's not like new parts of the world are being created. They've always been there. But it's taking these other people to open my eyes and giving me the ability to see what I've been missing. And I can't do anything but say thank you. Thank you all for making it better.
You truly learn something when you see a list that does well. But more than that, when you hear the person who built it talk about why they built it, how they flew it, and understand what went into creating it, right?
Mm-hmm.
What I'm about to say is not meant to offend anyone, but just about anyone can put Picard and Ducat on a ship, and now you've got great action economy. It takes something unique to make, super movement work. It took something unique to make the World Championship lists.
Mm-hmm.
Every single list that was in top 8 was something different and unique and meta-changing.
Yeah, ship and a captain do not a combo make.
Right, and sometimes they're a great foundation, and sometimes it's ship, captain, and one card. I mean, you can have a Borg ship with Gol Macet and magnetometric guided charge, and that's a combo.
Yeah.
And that's a thing. That's totally a legit combo. But that's not the be-all, end-all. And there's other things you can do with it. I mean, I've been running Peter's Super Scout Cube lately, but I've been making my own tweaks to it because I've found different ways that I enjoy flying it, and it suits my play style, and I've been adapting it to different OP events.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like I've been able to utilize things and borrow from what I've seen work and make it my own. And that's where this game gets great, is being able to interact with people and to share your knowledge. And I remember one of the best moments I ever had, back before I was a name, back before people knew who David Montgomery was, back before the shipyard, back before I was on State of the Federation, back before Warp Core Breach. I was a guy on Twitter, and there was another guy who ran a series of videos called Face Up Damage, and he did like a dozen videos. And he'd do some bat raps and stuff like that. And he got out of the game shortly after Dominion War. But we had talked. And I believe that Aaron Percival had also talked, because his name sounded really familiar at the time. The three of us had all talked about maybe doing a podcast at one point. And the dream died because, life happened. But, the idea kind of never really went away. At least in my mind. And now here we are. But, we'd talk. The guy from Face Up Damage and I would just go back and forth, and we'd shoot the breeze about lists. And it was such a different idea. This was before I was really involved in the Facebook community. I was on Board Game Geek every once in a while, but I was just a guy who was playing the game and having fun.
Mm-hmm.
But those are the kind of memories that you really have. Like, you don't have to be a name that 1,000 people recognize to enjoy this game. You can be a person that shows up to 1 OP a month and who 5 people know, and you're great friends, or not even friends at all, with the people you play with. But that's how you make memories in this game. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I say that because the enjoyment that you get out of this game is unique to you. And there is nothing wrong with you making memories in the way that is best for you.
Hi, this is Dave Griffin. Today we're going to talk about the Eye of the Needle mission that comes with the RIS Talbot, the new Romulan science vessel. And it replicates the Voyager episode of the same name, though as far as I know there wasn't a ship attacking the Talbot in the Alpha Quadrant. On the Romulan side we have 70 points, including at least 1 Romulan science vessel and 3 tech upgrades. On the enemy side, 60 points unrestricted. There's an objective token in the center of the map representing the tiny wormhole. The Romulans are on the north edge, and the enemy ship or ships is on the south end. There are 3 new actions, 3 for the Romulans. The first one involves lowering your shields and placing a mission token on one of your techs, and in the end phase, you get to transfer that tech to your ship card. And I think they're doing that to keep you from winning outright the third time you do this action. There is a second action which allows you to disable and then discard your captain instead of the tech, and that's only used if you have no techs remaining. So if you start off with 3 techs and you use one of them, like temporal displacement, to block an attack, then you can still get that third mission token even though you're missing one of your techs. And the third action is for another Romulan ship to lower its shields and transfer one of its techs to your ship. The objectives on the Romulan side is to get 3 mission tokens on its card, or to destroy the enemy ships. On the enemy side is to destroy all Romulan science vessels, so you don't have to destroy any escorts of the RSV unless it's using additional RSVs. Now, the problem with this scenario for the Romulans is that the Talbot depends on its cloak to survive. Given the fact that it's going to be lowering its shields most of the time, it can be one-shotted by anything that does 2 points of damage to it, and it's only got 2 evade die. You can mitigate this somewhat by using things like temporal displacement, which is a one-shot deal, and things like reinforced hull plating, which can block a single hit. You can use it by enhanced movement, like Fleet Captain, Indie-Fed Fleet Captain, and Full Stop, and all those are useful. And you can also mitigate it somewhat by having an escort, which actually will be shooting at your opponents, whoever they are. That's one of the problems with the scenario, because your strategy changes a lot depending on who the enemy ships are. It's frankly a hard scenario for the Romulans because they lose their cloak and their shields, and now they only need 2 points to be destroyed. Really, the only way I can think of that the Romulans are going to win this is if they can get rid of the enemy ships except for one and then outmaneuver that last one. That's not going to be easy, but with the India-Fed fleet captain in full stop, at least they have a chance. You're also going to want, if you possibly can manage it, to have a higher captain skill on the Romulan science vessel than your opponents, allowing you to move last. That gives you the best chance of avoiding their arcs. Now, avoiding their arcs, if they're Klingons, is relatively easy. Although if they have two Klingons, it might be hard to avoid both of their arcs. But avoiding a 360 range 1 to 2 Federation dorsal phaser array or a Borg tactical cube or a sphere or even a scout cube or anything that has a 1 to 2 360 arc is going to be difficult. So I would say a few things to say on tactics. If you were to take Klingons for the enemy, you'd probably want to take 2 ships, because it's easier to outmaneuver 1 ship than it is to outmaneuver 2 ships. If you maneuver your ships in such a way that each ship covers part of the possible ending location of the RSV and the other one covers as much as what's left as possible, then no matter where the RSV moves, you'll get at least 1 shot at him. On the Romulan side, the Romulan RSV probably needs an escort. A possibility would be the Valdor with, say, someone like Torith and maybe the Romulan helmsman. And that at least gives you the potential for getting a good shot at one of the escorts. If you can do that, if you can roll lucky and actually destroy one of the Klingons, if they are cloaked Klingons, there's a chance that you could get rid of one of the Klingon ships. And if you can do that, the Romulan science vessel can probably outmaneuver the other. As far as trying to destroy both of your enemy ships, the problem is that the RSV is not a combat vessel. As a result, it's not really likely to be able to put up much of a fight. So the battle is really up to your secondary ship. And with the need to put some kind of captain on the RSV and 3 techs, you're going to be consuming a lot of your 70 points. So I guess what I'd say is the Romulans have the disadvantage here, but it really does depend on the skill of the players on both sides and their building ability. So I would put it 60-40 against the Romulans. Still, it's a fun exercise to play. I would put it at 3 stars and say it's worth playing. Have fun on this one, and I'll see you next week. Just as a PS, if you want to give the Romulan science vessel a little bit better chance here, I would allow it to keep its shields up while it's doing its mission token work, and for all 3 actions. That'll at least give the Romulan science vessel 4 hit points so that it can't be quite so easily one-shotted.
And here's Natasha with Dude, It's Just a Game, a perspective on Star Trek Attack Wing from someone who isn't completely obsessed.
Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. So this week I'm going to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. I'm going to talk about a really great ship and a really great weapon. And by doing that, I'm going to talk about how I used these 2 things to do really well in my last OP. I did even better than Mr. Star Trek himself, David. How do you feel about that?
Well, when we don't actually play head-to-head, it's hard to know for sure what would have happened.
Uh-huh. You were scared and you know it.
I believe you're the one who didn't want to play me, not vice versa.
Well, really, I just didn't want to make you cry again. That's all.
Uh-huh. Keep telling yourself that.
Okay, so the ship I want to talk about today is Voyager, which is a really awesome ship that has some concerns with it in terms of flying, but it is one of the Federation ships that is my go-to when I decide I want to fly Federation.
Hey, built-in 360. Hard to argue against that.
That's true. The fact that it maneuvers less desirably than one might want is counterset by the fact that you can pretty much shoot at anyone you want to, if they're in range anyway.
Yeah, if it had a 1 straight, it would be basically perfect.
Yeah, that no 1 straight thing has always confused me deeply.
Well, the ship is meant to go fast, so going 1 straight just doesn't do it.
Well, Yeah, but even things that go fast go slow too. Like a Lamborghini doesn't just go 60 miles an hour. It also goes 10. Just saying.
Details. Hey, it makes more sense than just skipping 4 straight.
Well, but then there's no 6 straight.
No, there is.
There is?
Yeah. Actually, what they could have done is given you a 1 straight and then all the way up to a 4 straight, skipped 5 and given it a 6 straight. That would have been interesting.
Really?
Yeah. Well, when you're limited to having 15 maneuvers on the dial, because that's all that fit, trust me, it's a thing. You gotta make a compromise somewhere.
I feel like they could fit a 16th if they really wanted to.
I suppose. Or they could have given it an upgrade card to let it take a 6 straight instead of putting it on the dial.
Something. Anyways, Voyager is really great. Maneuvering is concerning, but it's really great. And there's a weapon that you can only fly on the Voyager, which makes me kind of jump with joy. It's called Transphasic Torpedoes. It is 10 points and 10 dice, and then you discard it.
Yeah, now you have to spend your target lock, which means that you don't get much quality.
Right.
Unless, of course, you've already taken a target lock, and the turn you use Transphasics, you say take battle stations?
Or you have a card like I did that gives you free battle stations.
Ah, yes. Invaluable advice?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, battle stations is really, really, really good to have on that one because you're rolling 10 dice. You're automatically guaranteed to come up with some hits, probably a few crits, and then you throw some battle stations turned into hits on there, and they're going to be crying. In my 3 matches in the tournament, I only got it off twice. The other tournament, I never actually got a chance to use it. But both times I did use it, they were crying. They were sad.
Was it Joe that you didn't get it off against?
No, I actually did get it off against Joe, and then he wiped the board with me. By the way, Joe is uninvited.
Okay, so that's the game you didn't play on camera. You got it off against John on camera. Or no, you didn't get it off against John on camera.
Right.
Okay, that's what happened.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to use it against John. But the match with John was particularly interesting because I won only by mission tokens.
Yeah, that game was weird. It was 20-10.
Best game ever.
Yeah, so if you haven't seen that, it's up on the Shipyard YouTube page. We got the whole match. Every excruciating minute of it. So you can see every move that was made and in its full glory.
It was pretty awesome / awful. I win based on the OP extra rules for points by predicting his moves. So yeah, it was a really interesting tournament for me, and that was a really interesting game. The one where Joe tabled me 130-0, I think. Well, no, it wasn't 0.
10? You got a guess in?
No, because I killed one of his ships.
Okay. I have to look this up now, don't I?
No, it was 89. He didn't get all my ships. That's right. Okay. Sorry, I was thinking he actually killed me, but he didn't actually get the chance to take my last ship out. So I think he had something like 89-50. So even that, I didn't get completely killed off, but I didn't do very well in that match. My transphasic torpedoes were kind of the high point of that match. But Joe came well prepared and killed me. So it happens. I did take out one of his big ships, and it was transphasic torpedoes that did it. And you can't take transphasic torpedoes on anything except Voyager, so that necessitated it. That was kind of my main idea going in, and then I just had to supplement with some other maneuverable stuff. But that right there is a potent combo. You throw some other fun things on there that help with maneuverability, or put some battle stations, action type things on there. You're good to go. Definitely, if you have not checked out that combo, do it. It seems like it's really costly, and you have to discard. It seems like you give up a lot to use it, but it is absolutely worth it, especially if you can get battle stations. So, all right. So that was my ship and my weapon and my glorious triumph of being better than David.
I did outscore you on fleet points, so if we had had the same record, I would have crushed you.
But we didn't.
Yeah. So
anyways, I trounced David, and I win, and I'm awesome. So that's basically my segment this week. But thanks for tuning in, and definitely hope you keep listening in, and I'll try not to make David cry quite as often. But until then, thanks for listening, and remember, dude, it's just a game.
Welcome to the next edition of Nick's Intermix, where we look at card interactions to see which ones fizzle, which ones sizzle, which ones are stable, and which ones are volatile. In the chamber this week, we have No Defense. Alright, let's kick it off with the USS Intrepid. This is the OP prize ship from Balance of Terror. It's a Constitution class 3143, 22 points, and its ability says, when attacking a ship at range 3, if there is a scan token beside your ship, the defending ship rolls -2 defense dice instead of 1. Sound familiar? I thought so. Well, that brings us back to T'Pol, who came with the NX-01 Federation ship, and she says, add 1 tech slot to your upgrade bar. When attacking with your primary weapon, if there is a scan token beside your ship, you may disable this card to force the defending ship to roll -2 defense dice against your attack instead of 1 defense die. Now you might be asking, hey, doesn't it say in the rulebook where you can't use a token to trigger more than 1 ability from an upgrade? Technically that is correct, from an upgrade. But T'Pol is an upgrade, the ship is not. And neither is the science officer portion of the officer resource from the collective OPs. It states, add 1 tech upgrade slot to your upgrade bar. Why not? You can always use more of those. Each time you attack, if there's a scan token beside your ship, the defender rolls -2 defense dice instead of 1. During the modified defense dice step of the combat phase, you may spend a scan token to add 1 evasive result to your roll. Well, tack on the HESS, the High Energy Sensor Sweep, which came from either the OP USS Sutherland from Dominion War, or the newly released USS Phoenix, also a Nebula-class ship, now available to everyone. You can get that free scan by disabling a shield. So right off the bat, you get 1 scan token. You can use that to not only trigger your ship's ability, but T'Pol's and Science Officer. So for the target of your attack, that's a reduction of 3 defense dice just from these abilities, in addition to the 1 from the scan token itself. Now, if you wanted to add on an extra scan token through the use of the First Officer card, whenever you perform a battle station, scan, or evasive action, you may place 2 tokens of the appropriate type beside your ship instead of 1. If you do so, place an auxiliary power token beside your ship. So, that gives you -4 for the original token, the ship, T'Pol, and the Science Officer card. You get -5 with the addition of the next token. Now, this token hasn't been tapped for anything yet, so if you really wanted to, you could throw in something like Dimitri Valtain or Mr. Spock or something else to take advantage of that. But why don't we go and add something else? Let's go with Geordi LaForge. This is the one from the Enterprise E. Add 1 tech upgrade slot to your upgrade bar. Federation? Yet another tech slot. Not bad. Action. Disable this card to target a ship at range 1 to 3. Target ship rolls 2 less defense dice this round, minimum 0, against all your ship's attacks. Nice. If the target ship is cloaked, flip its cloak token to the red side. So the cloak is gone at the end of the round. Nice. So, in effect, you can have a ship that attacks and reduces the defender's defense die by 7. So, those with the shenanigans that roll a whole ton of defense dice, you just got whacked. Not bad for only 39 points, huh? Well, there's plenty more we could do with this just to buff it up. It doesn't really fill in the combo, except for computer analysis. This is a wonderful little card, and what it does is during the planning phase, you may discard this card to remove all disabled upgrade tokens from all your other upgrades. It's a handy little thing you can use to pull Geordi LaForge back and T'Pol, because both of them disable to use their ability. So you'd have to enable 2 cards each round in order to keep using it. So with computer analysis, you get an extra round out of it. You could throw William T. Riker, or as I call him, William E. Riker, from the Enterprise E, to trigger Geordi for free, and he too would get disabled, which just adds to the value of computer analysis. Now, you could take it a couple steps further, add on Phlox and Beverly Crusher, and then you get your reset loop where you can have all your crew re-enabled every round. Now you're probably asking yourself, whoa, wait a minute. The Intrepid only comes with 2 crew slots. We've added William E. Riker, so now we have 3. How are we going to fit 2 more crew on there? If you're playing suggested format, you're probably going to have to stop there. But If you can step it up another notch, then what you can do is either throw on Stargazer Picard or Enterprise E Picard, both of them triggering to add 1 crew slot. In addition to that, you can put on the Operations Officer, which also adds a crew slot. So that's 3 officer cards. You've got Jean-Luc Picard, either 6 or 8, and William E. Riker. All of those add crew slots, so now you can hold 5. That gives you Geordi, T'Pol, Riker, Phlox, and Beverly Crusher. And that seals it for your loop. All your crew are going to be re-enabled every turn. Crusher keeps Phlox good to go, so it's fully automatic. So Riker triggers Geordi, the rest fly through, your high energy sensor sweep gives you the initial scan, and you're good to go. You haven't even used your ship's action yet, so you can use that for a target lock, a battle station, or something else cool. But wait, there's more. You can use that ship action to trigger Feint. It's a Federation talent that says action. Discard this upgrade to target a ship at range 2 to 3. If you attack that ship this round, it rolls 2 less defense dice. Wow! We could basically null nearly any defense dice thrown by a ship. Yes, I know. I hear you out there, Jason. You're saying, well, I can roll 16 plus defense dice on a little ship if I want to. Well, what do you say we knock it down 9 or 10, huh? Bring you back down to a cloaker level. So let's see you roll a couple of aids. We'll still punch through. And if we want to build it up another level, just go crazy and just fill the ship up. Let's throw on the Type 8 phaser array, the upgraded phasers, systems upgrade, Unimatrix shielding, and transwarp drive. Let's just make it insane. Bring it up to nearly 80 points. Well, that's Nick's Intermix for the week. I hope you enjoyed it. Have fun, happy building, and we'll see you next time.
Future Dave here. Nick, as cool as it is, I have 3 words for you. Magnetometric Guided Charge. Takes care of all the problems in 1 card. Yeah. 16 defense dice? I say 0.
Hello everybody, this is Steven Vandeventer from DaVinci's DreamWorks 2. I am going to talk to you tonight about Alliance's new directive with the WizKids kits. Currently, Alliance, which is the main distributor for WizKids product and OP kits, they've put out a new directive now where stores can only order a maximum of up to 3 kits depending on your player performance. And this is judged by both your ordering that your store does for product and its event performance on the West system. Now, to just qualify for getting the maximum 3 kits, you have to just be performing, I believe, just a monthly event on the event system. You know, just showing that you have active players and ordering minimum requirement for whatever it takes for the new ships. For some people, this might seem harsh because they're not able to get kits, but if there is a reason, you can check with your store owner and see if they are using the West system, and if they are not, that's the first thing that you need to do is get your store signed up with the WizKids event system and then start posting the events there. You can still do your events by hand or however you're doing them currently, just transport the result in. It's very quick, it doesn't take very long. If ordering is a problem, I suggest, like I did in one of my other segments, that you as a group of players should start pre-ordering what ships that you want, so your store can actually start getting them with their pre-orders. For those of you who do have a good player base and 3 kits is not enough, WizKids has been making allotments to change that. If you can show them that you are running a lot of Star Trek Attack Wing events, then they'll perfectly willing to make exceptions. You can just talk to WizKids on Facebook or via your rep from Alliance and try to work something out with them. Our store, I know, has a lot of players, and getting so few kits when we run Star Trek on 2 days and with so many players, we need to definitely have more than 3. So we've got the kits up to, I think, 6. That way we can get out enough prize support for all of our players for the duration of the events that we plan on running monthly. So, and all they did was just check my West system and saw that I have the players and I do run the events on a consistent basis and so forth. Other than that, like, why WizKids is doing this is mainly to kind of stop the secondary market selling from venues who just max order all the kits, then sell the product on eBay for horrendous prices, as I'm sure some of you remember with like the Chitang and the Stargazer before its certain card got errated, as well as probably hoods, anything like that. They're trying to stop a lot of this stuff. They're also trying to stop people from misusing the West system to cheat the rankings. They're working on a lot of things, just slowly and one at a time. But they'll get to it. So this is a good step. Stores that are performing their events should be able to get the kits that they need. You just have to show them that you are. And that's it for that stuff. As for what's been going on in the store, we recently did our fun multiplayer event based off Temporal Cold War OP1, and I took some hints and ideas straight from the actual OP, as well as from the Dakir's mission called Rendezvous, which uses the Suliban cell ship tokens. That mission is actually based off the two-part episode Shockwave, which is Temporal Cold War OP1's mission, except that it's kind of like a what-if, that they actually were trying to save the Enterprise from the Suliban ships rather than Archer stopping them. So I used their rules exactly how they are, except I gave them a priority to go after escorted ships. I made about 5 separate missions. The first player who can complete any one of those missions got an LE, as well as the red shirt winner. And I put 2 maps together, overlapped them a little bit, set up objectives, put Suliban tokens on one side of the map, put the planet, which was Paragon 2, representing the mining colony, on the other map. So players could opt to try to go after other players' ships and destroy them. If you got 5, you complete the mission. Go after Suliban ships, killing 10, complete the mission. Try to frame a ship for destroying the mining colony, thus triggering the mining colony explosion and getting the bonus points from the OP event on against an opponent ship. Or trying to save the planet. Anytime the planet exploded, we took the mission tokens off and reset it, so that way players had a chance to actually both save it and destroy it. Saving it, if you're within range 1, you can use your action to remove a mission token from the planet and put it on your ship. If you got 10, you got an LE. As for the other missions, we had escorting. Escorting was you had to be within range 1 of a other ship, which now counted as friendly to you, and you try to guide them to these safety points, which are these 5 objective markers on the other map, where there's a lot of Suliban ships. If you can pass by range 1 of all these markers, in any order you choose, you complete the mission. I kind of got the idea from this from the Gorporis' mission, where you have to encircle the objective tokens, then leave the board. You had to be within range 1 of them, except because there were like 40 Suliban tokens, and they could literally kill any ship in existence by ganging up on you. Believe me, somebody took a 47 dice attack, suffered 20 crits, instantly died. There are pictures on the Star Trek community. It's pretty crazy. Yeah, so instead I made the objective tokens count as save points by providing a range 1 no attacking, unless there were 10 Suliban ships also within range 1, thus negating the protection because there's too many of them. The build was 1 30-point ship, and if you were a 22nd century era pure, you got a free 5-point resource that you can use. It was very fun, and there are lots of pictures up in the Star Trek community. I put good descriptions for the event. We do it all the time. We love just taking the episode and trying to make it into a fun multiplayer based off whatever OP we're doing. And that's all I got for you tonight, guys. See you next week.
And now it's time for the Warp Core Breach Question of the Week, where we pose your questions to all of the contributors in the hopes that someone will get it right. This week's question: what do you know now that you wish you knew when you first started playing?
I wish I knew this community existed, because I would have jumped on Facebook, found the group Board Game Geek, and I would have soaked it up, and I may very well have made much more headway. Who knows what would happen? Now, I do have the motto of no regrets. I wouldn't change the past for anything because, I love the way things are and I wouldn't want to risk it. But in keeping with the question, that's what I would change if I had to change anything. I'd want to know all of you that much sooner.
See, I've been musing on this for a long time. We came up with this question weeks ago in trying to come up with ideas for the show. And my only thing, and it's a big one, but is that have patience with this game, because things change, and while they may not always seem like they're for better, they always will work out.
Mm-hmm.
This game is not always perfect, and we know that, and we'd be foolish to try to sit here and say that it is.
Nor would I want to.
But somebody's in control. There's people who at least half know what they're doing. And where they don't know what they're doing, there's other people to come in and make things right, or at least help things along. So no matter what happens, this game is Star Trek, and things will work out. WizKids does listen, and things will continue to get better.
Yeah, as long as you have something to bring to the table, both literally and figuratively, it can get better. All it takes is two of you. That's it. It's like starting a family, only less messy.
All right. I'm tossing it over to our contributors before that line goes any further.
The line must be drawn here and no further!
Hi everyone. I suppose the thing I most wished I knew when I was starting out is that the game would grow as big as it has. And I know people poo-poo that and say, oh, it's not that big. But the thing for me was, I started playing between Wave 1 and Wave 2. And Dominion were the ugly stepchild at the time. Klingons were ruling everything. People were complaining about Cloak being such a big deal and it's too powerful. But I really, really think that I wish then I'd knew how far down the line we've got now. That was between Wave 1 and 2. We're almost getting into the 20s with the number of waves that we've got. And I wish I had some perspective at the time when I was complaining about Cloak, that it wouldn't be the be-all and end-all at that time. And moaning and complaining about the game is ultimately pointless, because the game's going to change, and things that you think are amazing right now might not be that amazing 6-8 months down the line. I mean, it happened with the Borg. The Borg were amazing. Everyone hated playing the Borg. The Borg were the most broken thing ever. And now you hardly see people playing them anymore, because the meta has changed, because the meta has shifted. And I suppose, for me anyway, that's the big thing. I wish I'd known that nothing is permanent in this game, and that eventually, if you think it's broken, something will come along to fix it. So, yeah, that's what I wish I'd known starting out. Thanks for listening.
All right, I'm Goat.
This is Brian.
This is RJ. And we're from Red Maneuvers, and the question is what was that, Hootie and the Blowfish song? I wish I knew what I know now.
Yeah, pretty much.
They were doing that.
Okay, so I wish back then I would have known. I don't remember.
Because you don't remember back then?
I literally just went completely blank right there.
Oh, wow.
You start it, I'll remember.
All right, so mine is that when transphasic torpedoes and all the damage buff dice stuff happened, they thought that was the cat's pajamas, for the lack of a better term. But it was really about learning to do quality hits over quantity hits. I'd rather have 5 attack dice that hit every single turn than roll 10 attack dice and hope most of those hit.
Right, you mean by rerolls, double rerolls, battle stations, all that.
Putting upgrades on better quality stuff than quantity of things. Like rolling a bunch of dice, I'd rather be making sure that I get 3 or 4 evades than, rolling 8 defense dice and hoping I get 3 or 4 evades.
Right. I remember now. I got it.
Go for it.
Got it. One-trick ponies.
Oh, yeah.
Just relying on one ship and one ship alone to do everything in my fleet, and the rest just there kind of for filler.
Yeah, like relying on the dreadnoughts was a big thing, and then relying on one, like the fighters are the thing now.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
When I first started off, I played a lot of action-heavy cards, where you had to be able to take the action to
all
get
the combos.
All the combos. And now I'm going with more static ability.
And this is where I have to jump in and apologize, because something happened in transmission of data and the rest of that got cut off. So, sorry, but that's what we got.
Hey everyone, it's Natasha from Dude, It's Just a Game. The one thing that I wish I had known when I started playing is how important maneuvering your ship to the best of its ability becomes. So even if you don't have a maneuverable ship, you have to use the tools that it has, because maneuvering will kill you 10 times more often than getting shot at will. Because if you maneuver right into a ship or off the board or anything like that, then whether or not you can shoot is moot. So that's something that I wish I had paid much more attention to at first, and I wouldn't have struggled so long to figure out how to play this game. So yeah. Maneuverability, I guess, is the one thing I wish I had known. So that's it. Yeah. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Hello, Warp Core Breach listeners. Bane of Borg with episode 15. What do I now know that I wish I knew starting out playing this game? Well, the one thing that I wish I knew was how to improve dice quality, or the importance of dice quality, both for the attack and defense, but more for the attack. Had I known about Mr. Spock, Starter Picard, Gul Dukat, and given me that extra action to either do a target lock or battle stations, if I'd have known that sooner, I would have been able to be more competitive in my OPs earlier, probably had a chance to win a few. So I guess that's the one thing I wish I knew before I started out playing. Thank you for listening. This is Bane of Borg signing off.
Hello again, guys. This is Steven Vandeventer from DaVinci's DreamWorks 2 in Jensen Beach, Florida. Today I'm going to tell you about what I've learned from Star Trek that I wish I would have known in the beginning. Well, myself, I think a lot of people when the game first started, they got into it the same way I did. They had played X-Wing and then heard Star Trek was coming out in an X-Wing type of rule set and decided to try to play it. So I went into it thinking it was X-Wing, but it's so much more than that. So I would have just grabbed the rulebook and went in full Trek heavy and focused on what makes Trek so fun now, which is definitely the missions, playing with really fun, cool scenarios like we do at my shop, experimenting with a lot of the different era purities, faction purities, but mainly, doing a lot of missions and fun, cool multiplayer games. I think just getting that Trek experience rather than just the blind, normal dogfighting you get from X-Wing. I think both games are great, and Star Trek is better in certain ways, and X-Wing is better in other ways, but that's for an entirely different debate. But, yeah, I think going into it with a real Trek mindset, rather than it being just the Trek version of X-Wing, that's how I probably would have liked to start it. And then it wouldn't have taken so long to make such cool events. Alright guys, bye.
Hello everybody, Innkeeper here from the Wandering Inn. What do I know now that I wish I knew when I started this game? As lame as it's going to sound, I wish I knew that this game existed before I started playing it. I started playing this game late 2014, and I wish I had started a whole lot earlier. Back at that time, I had so much rules to learn, to crunch, all the FAQs, all the builds, all the ships. It was quite overwhelming just to start this hobby out. Even just by playing the major factions, Klingon, Romulan, Fed. Yeah, it was so much to chew. I wish I started right at the get-go upon release. So what do I know now that I wish I knew then? The game. I wish I knew about this game years before I learned about it.
Hi, this is Dave Griffin. Well, I started in the Dominion War era, and when I first started playing my Enterprise D as a Federation player against cloaked ships, I was very frustrated and didn't understand how to go about fighting them. That was in the era where cloaks were king. What I know now is a little bit better about the breakpoints between what makes cloaks invincible or totally fragile and not worth taking. And that knowledge does make me feel a little bit better when I find myself across the table with a cloaked fleet. Understanding the hit dice you need and the level of quality you need to achieve parity really helps. Another thing I think I know that I wish I'd known then was a little better an idea about how to approach the initial engagement on the board without just flying into each other. That sort of style of play, the charge into glory, is the hallmark of the Klingon players, and my friend was very into playing exactly that style. So coming up with a few ways to avoid the standard joust is also something I know now that I wish I'd known when I was starting out. Thanks.
All right, so you've heard what all of us have to say about what we wish we knew back when we started. As always, we'd love to hear what you know that you'd tell yourself back when you started. Keep it friendly. Don't go tearing everything apart, but, have at it. You can let us know in a myriad of ways, but we are always happy to hear from you.
And for Nick's Intermix as well, if you have any combination ideas or anything that you'd like me to discuss on a future segment, let me know. Throw some of your perspective into the mix.
it'll just intermix with everything else and come out pretty. And of course, feel free to give us a rating on iTunes or a review. We're always open to hearing what you guys think there. No worries if you don't, but we'd love to get those so we get some feedback on iTunes, because that always looks good. Thank you guys for downloading and listening. We always appreciate that, and it's great to know that you guys are out there and listening and supporting us. You guys are awesome, and thank you so much for that. You guys have been amazing with this, and we are so happy that our words and this entire effort of a collective, of a group, have been well received, and
Warp
we hope
core
that
breach
it keeps
in
on
10,
going.
Keep on
9,
keeping on.
8,
Warp 9. Second
7,
star does it right, and straight on
6,
till morning.
5,
So until next time.
4,
This is Nick.
3,
And this is David.
2,
Ejecting the
1.
core.
Warp core ejected.
Warp Core Breach is produced by Nick Norris and David Montgomery, with additional content from our contributors. Our computer is voiced by Corinne Donnelly.
Warp Core Breach is not endorsed, sponsored, or affiliated with CBS Studios Incorporated or the Star Trek franchise. All Star Trek trademarks and logos are owned by CBS Studios Incorporated.
All sound files are used under Creative Commons 3.0 by attribution. For specifics, please visit our Facebook page by searching Warp Core Breach Podcast. If you want to contribute to the show, let us know on the Facebook page, or you can email us at warpcorebreachpodcast@gmail.com.
Well, you racing a space dock? Shut the door.